why we need it, and how our Court Self-Help Center has grown and changed since it began. Pennsylvania is actually still pretty far behind the times when it comes to providing assistance to self-represented litigants. But in York, we are making great strides. The Self-Represented Litigation Network meets up at conferences and through monthly working group calls to work together to help bridge the gap for SRLs. We share ideas and tips and technology and information about what other self-help centers are doing and what we should aspire to become and the best practices on how to get there. Court self-help centers exist in every state and around the world, and in each of those places on the maps, there is some form of self-help. Self-help centers can be websites with information and how-to videos or live chats, apps for your phones, court concierge desks, walk-in centers. They can be found in law libraries. Some offer clinics. There's technical document assembly, and I even met a woman from Alaska who drives an old school bus around to remote locations to give self-help. Our self-help center is a combination of several of those. We are not lawyers, so we cannot give any legal advice, and it is vital that people know that. We don't give any strategic information, only procedural, and we do not fill out forms for people. We don't interpret judges' orders. We can go over process and procedure, we review instructions, and we emphasize the self part of self-help. We offer tools and resources, but there's work for the litigant to do, and we won't do it for him. It's a common misconception that people who come to the Court Self-Help Center don't want an attorney. The old adage about a fool for a client often comes to mind, but most, and actually most, of almost all of the people who come to the Self-Help Center are not unrepresented by choice. Many qualify for legal aid, but still can't get representation. The demand is just too great. And so many of our visitors are living at or below the poverty level, and most are eligible for IFP status, meaning they can't afford filing fees, let alone to afford to pay an attorney. People come to the Self-Help Center as a last resort. However difficult or ill-advised, the fact is that people are representing themselves in court without attorneys more and more frequently. Navigating the legal system on your own is hard, and it will be an uphill battle. People either try to do it on their own and fail, or they do nothing, and it begins to seem that the court is only for people with money. The Self-Help Center was established to change that, and our mission statement reflects that. We want to create, as it says, the effective court and to help people get access to the courts in a more meaningful way. Since the center opened its doors in 2013, with the continued support of President Judge Adams, the bench, and the bar, over 16,000 people have visited the center and had someone try to listen to them and help. And I will just note that more than 18% of those 16,000 retained counsel after visiting us. A visit to the York County Court Self-Help Center goes a little like this. The walk-in center is located on the 4th floor of the York County Judicial Center. So a person walks in, signs in, and while waiting to be called, completes a basic intake form for us to collect some information for our GIS internship we do with York College. The center is on a first-come, first-served basis, so there's usually time to review the packets before talking to one of our amazing staff members who are back there at that table. Every person who visits the center is asked to sign a disclaimer acknowledging that they understand that we're not lawyers and we do not give legal advice, and nothing we say and no forms we provide should be taken as a substitute for legal advice. If we have the form for a particular situation, we ask the litigant to sit down with a staff member and review the instructions. This way, someone's not being handed a form, sometimes a very complicated one, without any guidance or instruction, or what to do with it after they complete it. So the packets were approved by the bench, and they include glossaries of terms, diagrams of the stages of case, outlines of procedure, and detailed step-by-step instructions for filling the forms out, filing them, and serving them. They cost from about $1 to $5 to purchase in the center, but they are available on our website. The parties complete the form on one of our computers, and then our staff reviews it for completeness, and then revisits the next step so people know where they're going from here. We suggest observing proceedings before going to court. We give a little bit of information about what the court's going to be like, who's who in the court, and that they shouldn't wear their pajamas to court. Our goal is to educate people so they better understand have a better chance of going it alone. We don't kid ourselves into thinking that one session with us and showing them a flow chart of what a case might or might not do prepares him to represent himself in court. But meeting with our staff and educating themselves, people might understand their options a little better and be able to better communicate what it is they need or want, and they might be better prepared to meet with a lawyer, because we do still recommend that every visitor seek counsel. Anyone can use the center. There's no requirement. And if we don't have the packet, or if it's a criminal matter, then we do have books. I think that there we go. We have books because we are the Law Resource Center. We have free access to Westlaw and Lexis. People who show up at our door are feeling that they're not being heard. They're frustrated and scared and ignored, and we will listen to them. We'll try to help. We'll tell them it won't be easy, and we do what we can to connect them with the right resource and to direct them with information that can help them make their own decisions about, make their own decisions. Put simply, every person should have access to the courts. Too many people do not get their legal situations addressed because of their finances. The issues that we deal with are not life and death, but they seem that way to the person living it. Imagine not being able to get custody or not see your child because of the cost. Just because it isn't literally life and death doesn't mean that a person should be forced to do without it. In the 4 years since it opened, the Self-Help Center has changed and grown in many ways. More changes are in store. There'll be legislation that will require self-help centers. And I think that the changes that we've done will be very beneficial to the people in York County. We have overhauled the packets to make them more user-friendly. We've put visual aids, pictures, color-coded the instructions with calendars, and simplified language. We're working with the York Reentry Coalition, Bridges to Health, and PFA Office, and other organizations. We have 2 ongoing internship programs, and this is just where we can start. If the opposite of poverty is justice, then something's wrong. Access to justice is not equal if not having money means that the courts are essentially closed to you. We cannot ration justice. We at the Self-Help Center are contributing to justice in our own way. And when a person finds resolutions to one of the many problems in his life, that ripple can be felt throughout the community.